Hi, Redeemer. Donovan here. For this week's FAQ, I want to address the issue of basically what is God doing uh, through this coronavirus pandemic and all the accompanying reactions, overreactions, underreactions, all the things that are happening. I saw an article that circulated this week, and I don't need to name names, by a globally famous pastor that basically was titled Christianity Has No Answers, Nothing to Say About the Coronavirus. And the article basically said sometimes there's no answer and you just need to lament. And I get the sentiment there in terms of lament being appropriate when there's calamity. I disagree with the heading, and I read the article that Christianity offers no answers. So the reality is it does. And I think what I want to do is actually just pass the buck a little bit to a resource that we're going to share. It's actually in the weekly resource this week. If you're getting the weekly text that says that's this week at Redeemer and it lists several things, including a weekly resource. There's a free book by John Piper that just came out. It's called The Coronavirus and Christ. And it's available. You can download a PDF. You can purchase the book. If you'd like to contribute to Desiring God's Ministry, you can buy the book, get a physical copy. It also has audio download, so those of you that like doing audiobooks. And I really suggest it. I really like, I've skimmed through it and just generally trust him. So take a listen to that. And here's a little bit from the table of contents of what he says. So first thing he does in the opening of the book is he establishes the fact that God is sovereign and he is doing something. This is not out of his hand. God is the God who reigns over the coronavirus. And then in the second part is what is God doing? And here's a handful of things. And this is where, if we say it is difficult to say to connect, let's say natural disasters with specific events and things like that. But generally, the Bible reveals there are some generalities about the way that God uses calamity and uses natural disasters and things like that. So number one, John Piper says God is picturing moral horror. So in other words, the futility of the creation is a picture of sin. God handed the creation over to futility to show the reality of the horror of sin, because it's hard for us to see that. So we need a physical parable to point out moral horror. Sending specific divine judgments. God does that. And again, I don't know that I could read the times and exactly connect them. But God's not haphazard in his behavior, in his choices, and his actions. So again, you can dig into that chapter for a little more on that. Let's see. He's got a handful of these. Let's say one more. Realigning us with the infinite worth of Christ. So that's something I've been basically preaching on, right? If God is revealing the invincibility of the world in contrast with the invincibility of Christ. So he's realigning us with the infinite worth of Christ. So there's that, just some headline or some headings there. And I hope you find the resource useful. And thanks for tuning in.